The night settled over the lake like a heavy blanket, wrapping everything in darkness. Dave sat at the edge of his fishing boat, his line dangling into the inky depths below. The only sounds were the gentle lapping of water against the hull and the occasional chirping of crickets from the nearby shore. Dave had been coming to this lake for years, seeking solace in its tranquil waters. But tonight, something felt different. A sense of unease prickled at the back of his neck, causing him to glance nervously around. He couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. As the hours passed, Dave's unease grew. He tried to focus on his fishing, but his mind kept drifting back to the eerie sensation of being watched. Was it just his imagination playing tricks on him, or was there something out there in the darkness? Suddenly, a tug on his line snapped him out of his thoughts. Dave's heart leaped with excitement as he began to reel in his catch. But as the fish broke the surface, he froze in horror. It wasn't a fish at all. It was a human hand, pale and lifeless, tangled in his line. Panic surged through Dave as he stumbled backward, nearly capsizing the boat in his haste to get away. He fumbled for his phone, fingers trembling as he dialed emergency services. But when he looked back at the spot where he'd caught the hand, there was nothing there. No sign of the gruesome discovery, just the silent ripples fading into the darkness. Shaken to his core, Dave returned to shore, his mind racing with questions. Who did the hand belong to? And why had it ended up in the lake? Little did he know, the answers would lead him down a path darker and more twisted than he could ever imagine. In the days that followed, Dave couldn't shake the memory of the hand haunting his dreams. He tried to convince himself that it was just a bizarre coincidence, but deep down, he knew there was something more sinister at play. Determined to uncover the truth, Dave began to investigate. He questioned locals, scoured news articles, and even hired a private investigator. But no matter how hard he searched, the mystery remained unsolved. Then, one evening, as Dave was preparing to head out on the lake again, he received a cryptic message on his phone. It was a set of coordinates leading to a secluded spot deep in the woods near the lake. With a sinking feeling in his stomach, Dave knew he had to follow them. As he navigated his boat through the dense forest, the tension in the air was palpable. Every rustle of the leaves, every creak of the branches felt like an ominous warning. But Dave pressed on, driven by a desperate need for answers. When he finally reached the coordinates, he was met with a chilling sight. There, half submerged in the murky water, was a makeshift grave marked by a crude wooden cross. And lying beside it, buried beneath a layer of leaves and dirt, was a body. Dave's blood ran cold as he recognized the face of the corpse. It was the same man whose hand he had found in the lake. But before he could process the horror of the discovery, he heard a noise behind him. Whirling around, Dave came face to face with the true source of his nightmares, a figure emerging from the shadows, eyes gleaming with malice. It was the killer, the one responsible for the grisly murders that had plagued the lake for months. With nowhere to run and no one to help him, Dave realized he was trapped. He had stumbled upon a darkness far deeper than he ever could have imagined. And now he would pay the ultimate price for his curiosity. Frozen in fear, Dave's mind raced as he stared into the eyes of the killer. There was a primal instinct screaming at him to run, to fight, but his body refused to obey. The weight of the situation pressed down on him, suffocating him with dread. The killer took a step closer, a twisted smile creeping across their face. Dave's heart hammered in his chest, each beat echoing in the silence of the forest. He searched desperately for an escape route, but the dense trees seemed to loom closer, trapping him in their grasp. "You shouldn't have come here, Dave." The killer's voice was low, sending shivers down Dave's spine. "But now that you know my secret, I can't let you leave." Dave's throat felt dry as he struggled to find his voice. "Please, just let me go," he pleaded, his words barely a whisper. But the killer only laughed, a cold, hollow sound that seemed to echo through the night. "It's too late for that," they said, raising a glinting knife in their hand. With a surge of adrenaline, Dave finally found the strength to move. He turned and bolted into the trees, his heart pounding in his ears as he crashed through the underbrush. Branches clawed at his skin, roots threatened to trip him, but he pushed on, driven by sheer terror. Behind him, he could hear the heavy footfalls of the killer in pursuit. Panic fueled his every step, urging him to run faster, to escape at any cost. But no matter how hard he tried, the darkness seemed to swallow him whole, dragging him deeper into its grasp. Just when he thought he couldn't go on any longer, Dave burst through the trees and stumbled into a clearing. Gasping for breath, he collapsed onto the ground, his body trembling with exhaustion and fear. But as he looked up, his heart sank. He was back at the edge of the lake, trapped between the icy waters and the looming forest. And somewhere out there, lurking in the shadows, the killer was still hunting him. With his heart pounding like a drum in his chest, Dave scanned the darkened shore, searching for any sign of the killer. The woods remained silent, their secrets shrouded in darkness. But Dave knew better than to let his guard down. Gathering his strength, he forced himself to his feet, his mind racing with possibilities. He needed a plan, a way to outsmart the killer and bring an end to their reign of terror once and for all. But with every passing moment, the darkness seemed to close in around him, suffocating him with its presence. Then, a glimmer of hope pierced the shadows. A boat bobbing gently on the surface of the lake. It was his only chance, his only means of escape. With a renewed sense of determination, Dave made his way to the water's edge, each step heavy with anticipation. As he pushed the boat out into the lake, a sense of calm washed over him. The water rippled beneath the bow, carrying him away from the horrors of the shore. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Dave allowed himself to breathe, to hope. But just as he began to relax, a voice cut through the silence, sending a chill down his spine. "Leaving so soon, Dave?" It was the killer, their figure emerging from the shadows like a specter from the depths. Dave's blood ran cold as he realized there was nowhere left to run. He was trapped, at the mercy of a predator far more cunning than he could ever hope to be. But even in the face of certain death, he refused to surrender. With a steely resolve, Dave met the killer's gaze head-on. "It ends here," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. "I won't let you hurt anyone else." The killer's smile widened, a sickening expression that sent a shiver down Dave's spine. "You don't understand, Dave," they said, their voice dripping with malice. "This lake is mine, and no one will ever take it from me." With a swift motion, the killer lunged forward, their knife gleaming in the moonlight. But Dave was ready. He ducked out of the way just in time, his fists flying in a flurry of desperation and determination. The struggle was fierce, each blow fueled by the raw intensity of their fight for survival. But in the end, it was Dave who emerged victorious, his adversary lying defeated at his feet. As he watched the killer's limp form drift away on the darkened waters, Dave felt a sense of peace wash over him. The nightmare was finally over. The darkness lifted from the lake once and for all. But as he turned his boat toward the shore, a single question lingered in his mind. What other horrors lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: Dave would never look at the lake the same way again. The morning mist hung low over the still waters of Lake Whisper, lending an eerie ambience to the tranquil scene. Denzel stood at the edge of the pier, his fishing rod in hand, his thoughts lost in the rhythmic motion of casting and reeling. Fishing had always been his solace, a way to escape the chaos of everyday life. As the sun began its ascent, Denzel felt a tug on his line. With practiced precision, he reeled in his catch, a sizable trout gleaming in the morning light. But as he unhooked the fish, something caught his eye. A glint beneath the surface, a flash of silver disappearing into the depths. Curiosity piqued, Denzel cast his line once more, aiming for the spot where he had seen the mysterious shimmer. Minutes turned into hours as he patiently waited, the anticipation mounting with each passing moment. And then, just as the sun reached its zenith, he felt another tug, stronger this time, pulling at his line with an almost desperate urgency. With a quick flick of his wrist, Denzel set the hook, bracing himself against the force on the other end. But instead of the usual resistance of a fish, he felt something far more powerful, a primal force surging through the water, dragging his line deeper and deeper into the murky depths. Heart pounding, Denzel struggled to maintain his grip, his muscles straining against the unseen foe below. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the resistance vanished, leaving Denzel gasping for breath, his mind reeling with disbelief. Night fell over Lake Whisper like a shroud, the darkness broken only by the faint glow of Denzel's lantern as he returned to the pier. Despite his best efforts to shake off the events of the morning, an unease lingered in the pit of his stomach, a nagging sense of foreboding that refused to be ignored. As he settled into his makeshift campsite, Denzel couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that unseen eyes followed his every move from the depths below. Desperate for distraction, he focused on his fishing gear, meticulously preparing for another night on the lake. But as he cast his line into the inky blackness, a chill ran down his spine. A sound, faint yet unmistakable, echoed across the water, a haunting melody that sent shivers down his spine. Frozen in place, Denzel strained to identify the source of the eerie refrain, his senses on high alert. And then, from the darkness emerged a figure, a spectral silhouette gliding effortlessly across the surface of the water, its form twisted and distorted like a mirage. With a sinking feeling, Denzel realized the truth. The entity he had encountered was no mere fish, but something far more sinister, a being from the depths of legend and lore. As the ghostly apparition drew closer, Denzel's fear gave way to fascination, his mind racing with questions of its origin and purpose. But before he could utter a word, the figure vanished beneath the waves, leaving Denzel alone once more with nothing but his thoughts and the echoing refrain of the lake. Haunted by visions of what lurked beneath the surface, Denzel knew that his peaceful days of fishing were over, that he had stumbled upon something far more dangerous than he could ever have imagined, something that would change his life forever. Denzel spent the restless night tossing and turning in his tent, the memory of the ghostly figure haunting his dreams. With the first light of dawn, he emerged bleary-eyed and determined to uncover the truth behind the enigmatic presence that now lurked in the depths of Lake Whisper. Armed with little more than his fishing gear and a sense of trepidation, Denzel returned to the pier, his mind racing with possibilities. Casting his line once more, he waited with bated breath, hoping for a glimpse of the elusive entity that had captured his imagination. Hours passed with no sign of the spectral figure, leaving Denzel to ponder the nature of his encounter. Was it merely a trick of the light, a figment of his overactive imagination? Or was there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface, waiting to reveal itself once more? Just as doubt began to creep in, Denzel felt a familiar tug on his line, a subtle yet unmistakable force pulling him deeper into the mystery of Lake Whisper. With a steady hand, he reeled in his catch, his heart pounding in anticipation. But as the creature breached the surface, Denzel's breath caught in his throat. A monstrous shape unlike anything he had ever seen before, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly intelligence. And then, with a sudden surge of power, it broke free from his grasp, disappearing into the depths once more. As Denzel watched the creature vanish beneath the waves, a sense of awe washed over him, mingled with a profound sense of loss. For in that moment, he realized that his encounter with the mysterious entity had forever changed him, opening his eyes to a world beyond the realm of human understanding. With a heavy heart, Denzel packed up his gear, knowing that he could never return to the simple pleasures of fishing on Lake Whisper. For though he had glimpsed the secrets hidden beneath the surface, he also understood the dangers that lurked within, waiting to ensnare the unwary. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Casting a golden glow across the tranquil waters, Denzel set sail for distant shores, leaving behind a haunting melody of lake whisper and the mysteries that lay within its depths.